Trade Genius.
What's going on, guys? Philip at Trade Genius, and happy halving day. Bitcoin's halving completed today, and we are off to now a smaller block reward of 6.25 Bitcoin, which drops us from 1,800 Bitcoin down to 900 Bitcoin a day. So with that being said, I kind of wanted to just go over our halving chart that we created a while back and kind of look at the data that we posted on here and see how we've done so far since we did this chart last year. And what this chart consists of is we marked off how many days before halving we saw a bottom or the end of the bear market, because typically we see a bear market heading into the halving. So the first one was 350 days out. The second one was 504 days out. The most recent one here was 420 days out. Or actually, this was the average of these two. Okay, so we took the average, and that took us to the date of April 1st, 2019. And at that point, price was right around 38.70 or so. Our all-time lows were 3,040. So very close to the bottom area there. And that would have been a great opportunity to get long. So it was just showing you that Bitcoin moves very cyclically around these halving dates and pretty consistent. And generally you getting into these areas and out at these areas proves to be an extremely profitable run. So that proved to pan out pretty good. 60 days out was April 8th, 2019. And you basically saw, again, prices. And in fact, that day there, that average day, actually saw a big bar up. So you went from the 3,800s and it spiked up to 4,900. So you had like $1,000 day on the average, right on the average there. So that was interesting. Then we look at what happens after halving. So that's before halving. Now what happens after halving? So we look at the peaks after halving. So this peak, we didn't really have a halving to go off of. So this is our first peak after the halving, which are these red lines. 392 days after halving, we saw a peak. This cycle, it took 560 days to see a peak. So we take the average of those two, and it's 476 days. So again, you're not going to be exactly the top or the bottom, but it's good to get you in the general area of higher valuations. So what does that tell us? Well, that would bring us to the 13th of September, 2021, and we would be right at about $300,000 valuation for one Bitcoin. So a very, very parabolic rise, right? And, essentially that sounds crazy, but most people would have told you you're crazy if you said Bitcoin was going to go to 20K right at halving when we were at $450 or so back here in 2016, right? So Bitcoin is more than capable of going to some pretty outlandish sounding valuations, but if you understand how Bitcoin works, how finite it is, and how the demand is ever increasing, these numbers actually do make a lot of sense. So what's going to happen now, as of today, we are going forward into basically a realm of 900 Bitcoin a day, and demand's rising. Now, the environment that we're in is a lot different than, say, this halving and this halving, but over time, as things settle out and we get out of this recessionary time that we're in, hopefully it doesn't turn into depression. Over time, you're going to see this pan out. Now, if the economy can get back up and started again relatively soon, and we kind of get back to grinding our GDP back to where it's normal again, and the market normalizes, then I think you'll finally see Bitcoin do its thing like gold did back in the end of the 08-09 crash era, and gold breaks away as we've talked about, and so I expect to see Bitcoin do the same. Again, this is all uncharted territory. If none of this had happened with the pandemic and everything, and all things being equal, environment-wise, then I think that we would probably see no reason for this to maybe pull back a little bit, because a lot of times you'll see a little bit of a sell-off around the halving. That could be from miners trying to sell off some excess that they have to kind of ease the income haircut that can come along with the halving. But the environment of money printing hasn't changed. When the quantitative easing started back in 08, you remember that was noted to a certain extent about in the Genesis block for Bitcoin, and as far as the crash and all that stuff. And here we are again with now trillions of dollars being injected into the system. So what Bitcoin was created for, having a sound money and all that, well, this is the exact environment that we're looking at to keep perpetuating this inflationary type of approach from the central banks, and Bitcoin is a huge hedge on that. Paul Tudor Jones tweeted, I think Friday or Saturday, that they're going all in on Bitcoin. Not all in, but they're looking at it as the best hedge against inflation. And, again, and he's a very savvy investor. He manages billions of dollars, and a billionaire himself. So I think people are starting to see the legitimacy of Bitcoin as sound money. And I'm very, very excited for everyone who's been able to accumulate Bitcoin, actually own whole Bitcoins. I think that's really your goal here, is to own whole Bitcoins. And again, if you're interested in strategies on how to do that and how to accumulate more just by trading in and out of Bitcoin, then we can show you how to do that over at Trade Genius. Head over to our links below and check us out. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Again, happy Halving Day. Every 4 years, pretty special day. I will see you guys on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.